The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concordat buzzed with the usual cacophony of 600 different species attempting simultaneous translation. I, Ambassador Zrel Tak of the Ventari Collective, observed from my elevated pod as various dignitaries shuffled, slithered, or hovrated their way to their designated spots. Just another routine day of interstellar politics until she walked in. Victoria Blackwood, Earth's newly appointed diplomatic representative, entered the chamber with such practiced grace that several Flotian ambassadors actually stopped their perpetual bobbing to stare. Her crisp blue suit and perfectly styled silver hair screamed harmless bureaucrat, but something about her made my sensory ridges tingle. My most sincere and humble greetings to all esteemed members of this august assembly, Blackwood announced, her voice carrying that peculiar human quality they called warmth. I cannot express the depth of my gratitude for being welcomed into your presence today. Next to me, Ambassador Krull of the Silicon Mines actually powered down his primary processor, the equivalent of a stunned blink. That is the 7th expression of gratitude from the human delegation in the past 3.2 minutes, he whispered through our private channel. This exceeds all previous recorded instances by 43%. I tried to dismiss his concern, but then I noticed something that made my fourth heart skip a beat. The human assistants behind Blackwood were all smiling. Not the usual human facial arrangement that apparently indicated pleasure, but the kind of smile that reminded me of the apex predators from their planet Earth, the ones they called sharks. If I may be so bold as to request your most gracious attention, Blackwood continued, each word dripping with courtesy like honey from a trap, I would be deeply honored to present Earth's position on the recent Proxima Centauri mining rights dispute. The chamber fell silent. Even the perpetually argumentative Cracks delegation stopped their ritual dispute chanting. In 15 cycles as an ambassador, I had never seen the council this quiet. Oh no, muttered Xrilbax, the ancient hive mind representative who had survived 3 galactic wars. They're being excessively polite. This is worse than we thought. I watched in growing horror as Blackwood actually bowed to the arbitration committee. With your most generous permission, I have prepared a small presentation. But please, I would be devastated if this were to cause any inconvenience to the distinguished members of this noble assembly. That's when I saw it. Behind her perfect smile and courteous words, there was a glint in her eyes that I recognized from my studies of Earth's historical records. It was the same look their ancient warriors had before what they called diplomatic negotiations, usually followed by rather dramatic changes in territorial ownership. Ambassador Zrel Tak Blackwood turned to me, her smile widening ever so slightly. I simply must commend your exemplary work on the recent trade route reorganization initiative. Your wisdom and foresight are, if you'll pardon my forthright praise, absolutely remarkable. My blood ran cold. The trade route initiative had been my pet project for the past 3 cycles, carefully designed to give the Ventari Collective a slight advantage in the outer rim shipping lanes. The fact that she had noticed, let alone praised it so specifically. I immediately sent an encrypted message to my government: initiate Protocol 223, potential human diplomatic incident imminent. They're being extremely polite. Repeat, extremely polite. Recommend immediate preparation of concession packages and possibly evacuation plans. As Blackwood graciously waited for the council's permission to begin her presentation, I couldn't help but notice her assistants had started offering refreshments to the nearby delegates. One of them, a young human male with an impossibly sincere smile, was already discussing Earth's tea ceremony traditions with the notoriously temperamental Magma Collective representative. The pieces clicked into place. This wasn't just standard human diplomatic behavior. This was what Earth's historical records called killing them with kindness, and by the looks of it, we were all in serious trouble. After that alarming council session, I retreated to my private research chamber in the Ventari embassy. The walls, lined with holographic data streams, flickered with centuries of diplomatic records. I hadn't slept for 3 standard cycles, and my anxiety glands were working overtime. Computer, display all documented instances of human diplomatic encounters from the past 50 years, ranked by their level of recorded courtesy, I commanded, my tentacles twitching nervously. The results made me spill my nutrient supplement. There it was, a perfect correlation. The Andromeda Trade Agreement of 2184.17, please, and thank yous per minute, followed by humans gaining exclusive rights to 3-star systems. The Mars-Jupiter Consortium deal 22 apologies for interrupting. Humans walked away with controlling interest in the asteroid belt. Ambassador, your requested consultants have arrived. My assistant buzzed through the intercom. I looked up to see Analyst Krupp shuffling in, his crystalline form catching the light from my displays. Behind him strode Dr. Amanda Stone, the human behavioral expert, looking irritatingly cheerful for someone about to discuss potential diplomatic catastrophes. Fascinating data pattern you've got there, Dr. Stone remarked, peering at my holographic charts. Though you might want to adjust for the Minneapolis Protocol of 2167. We were actually sincere that time. Sincere. Krupp's crystals chimed in disbelief. According to these records, your ambassador brought home baked cookies to a peace negotiation. Well, yes, Dr. Stone smiled, but they were oatmeal raisin. Nobody brings oatmeal raisin cookies when they're planning something devious. It's practically a universal constant. I waved my sensory appendages in frustration. Focus, please. Look at this footage from yesterday's council meeting. Ambassador Blackwood used the phrase most graciously 14 times in one sentence. Oh dear, Dr. Stone's smile faded slightly. That's not good. Not good, my color spots flared in agitation. What exactly does that mean? Dr. Stone pulled up her own data pad, fingers flying over the surface. There's something you need to see. Computer, access Earth Historical Archive, Diplomatic Incident File 47B, the famous Japanese tea ceremony incident of 1853. The holographic display shifted to show an ancient Earth scene. Some humans in elaborate clothing were very politely pointing large metal tubes at other humans while serving tea. You see, Dr. Stone explained, Commander Perry's extremely polite request for Japan to open its ports was backed by gunships. The more formal the ceremony, the bigger the guns. It's a tradition that sort of stuck. Krupp's crystalline form vibrated in analytical mode, processing historical data. Correlation found. Human diplomatic politeness levels increased by approximately 37% for each potential megaton of destructive capacity available within their sphere of influence. That can't be right, I protested. At yesterday's meeting, Blackwood's politeness levels would suggest. A fleet, Dr. Stone finished quietly. A rather large one, I'd imagine. Probably hiding behind your third moon. My color spots went pale. But that's impossible. Our security nets would have detected. Ambassador Dr. Stone interrupted, somehow managing to look both apologetic and amused. Have you checked your tea supplies recently? With trembling tentacles, I accessed the embassy's inventory system. Our storage of premium Ventari nerve-calming tea, the most expensive and sought-after commodity in 3 sectors, had been mysteriously doubled last week. A gift from the human embassy, according to the records. They sent us tea, I whispered in horror. Premium quality tea, with a handwritten thank you note. And let me guess, Dr. Stone added, the note probably apologized for not sending it sooner. I nodded numbly. Well then. She sat back with a surprisingly sympathetic smile. I suggest we move quickly to phase 2 of your investigation. You're going to want to know about the Thanksgiving incident of 2157. That's when we invited the Regellian Empire to dinner and very politely ended up with their entire banking system. Krupp's crystals paled to a nearly transparent state. Is that why humans always insist on paying for meals during diplomatic functions? Oh yes, Dr. Stone beamed. We're very generous that way. I stared at the growing mountain of evidence on my screens, each incident more politely catastrophic than the last. One thing was becoming terrifyingly clear: we weren't just dealing with standard human diplomatic procedures. This was something far more dangerous. We were dealing with humans at their most courteous. My office had transformed into what humans called a war room, though Dr. Stone assured us the military terminology was purely coincidental. The walls now displayed a massive timeline of human diplomatic catastrophes, each marked with a politeness rating that made my sensory appendages curl. The signs are always there, announced a new voice from the doorway. We just choose to ignore them because they seem so harmless. I turned to see Meera Patel, the legendary diplomat who had survived the Proxima Tea Incident. She walked with a slight limp, a souvenir, I'd heard, from having to escape through a ventilation shaft while carrying 3 treaty documents and a ceremonial teapot. Ambassador Patel, Dr. Stone nodded respectfully. I was wondering when you'd show up. Please call me Mira, she smiled, making all our threat detectors ping simultaneously. I came as soon as I heard about Ambassador Blackwood's performance at the council. 27 apologies in one session? That's approaching Proxima levels of courtesy. Krupp's crystalline form shimmered anxiously. The Proxima Tea Incident. There are 47 different classified versions of what happened that day. 48, actually, Mira corrected, settling into a hover chair. The real version is the one that never made it into any database. Would you like to hear it? We all leaned forward, even Dr. Stone, who looked uncharacteristically serious. It started, Mira began, with a perfectly innocent invitation to tea from the human delegation. They even brought their own tea-set hand-painted bone china from Earth, wrapped in silk handkerchiefs. My color spots pulsed with dread. Formal presentation wrapping. With handwritten cards expressing gratitude for the opportunity, Mira confirmed grimly. The Proximans never stood a chance. By the time the humans started apologizing for the possibility that the tea might be too hot. No, Krupp chimed in horror. Oh yes, Mira continued. They offered to blow on it for them, personally, with little paper fans that had thank you notes printed on them. Dr. Stone pulled up a data file. The official records show that the Proxima system's industrial output tripled that year. The unofficial records, Mira added, would show that it quintupled. If those records existed, which they don't, because the humans very politely offered to handle all the paperwork. I quickly accessed our diplomatic database, but surely there were warning signs before. Let me guess, Mira interrupted. You want to know about the documented cases? Computer, Display Protocol Violation Report 2192A, the Serious Banking Conference. The holographic display shifted to show a formal gathering. Humans in business attire were smiling pleasantly at a group of Syrian bankers. Notice anything? Mira asked. They're standing too close, Krupp suggested. Look at their hands, Mira pointed. Every human in that room is holding a pen. A fancy pen. The kind you use to sign important documents. But that's normal for a banking conference, I protested. They brought their own pens, Mira emphasized, engraved, with the Syrians' names on them, as gifts. Dr. Stone nodded solemnly. The Sirius Financial Exchange now processes all transactions through Earth-based quantum servers. The humans sent thank you notes for each individual transaction for the first year. My tentacles curled in distress as more cases filled the screens. The Centauri Resort Agreement, where humans had actually written personal thank you notes to every single delegate's distant relatives. The Arcturus mining rights, negotiated over a formal dinner where humans kept offering to serve their guests first. And most terrifying of all, the Beta Reticuli incident, where the human delegation had brought not just flowers, but personalized vases for each species present. But what does it mean? I asked, my voice trembling. Why go to such elaborate lengths to be polite, when they clearly have the power to? Because Mira interrupted, her expression serious. Humans figured out long ago that the most devastating weapon in the universe isn't technology or firepower. It's making your opponents feel guilty for saying no. That's horrifying, Krupp chimed softly. That's diplomacy, Mira corrected. Human style. And based on what I'm seeing in these reports about Ambassador Blackwood, she paused, studying the footage from the council meeting. Well, let's just say when humans start breaking their own records for politeness, it's time to check your planetary defense systems, very carefully, while smiling. As if to punctuate her warning, my communication panel lit up with a priority message. The human delegation was requesting the pleasure of our company for afternoon tea. The invitation was handwritten, on actual paper, with gold edges. Oh dear, Dr. Stone murmured, looking over my shoulder. They used the good stationery. Mira's face went pale. Did they include fresh baked scones? I confirmed, my voice barely a whisper. and they apologized in advance if the clotted cream isn't to our taste. The room fell silent as the true gravity of our situation sank in. We weren't just witnessing standard human diplomatic machinations. We were looking at what might be the most polite takeover in galactic history. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Security Council was interrupted by the arrival of fresh pastries from the human delegation. Not just any pastries, handmade Danish delicacies, each one specifically crafted to accommodate the unique digestive requirements of every species present, with personalized note cards and ingredient lists. "We're doomed," I announced to the assembled representatives, my tentacles trembling as I pushed away a perfectly formed cream puff. The Arcturus Coalition representatives missed their last 3 check-ins. Their final transmission consisted entirely of them thanking the humans for their generous hospitality. The Security Council chamber erupted in worried murmurs. A quantum mind representative's hologram flickered anxiously. "Our latest analysis shows human politeness levels have exceeded all historical records." Ambassador Blackwood sent congratulatory messages to every council member's offspring, including species that don't reproduce. "It gets worse," Meera Patel added, limping to the central platform. This morning they filed a formal request to amend the seating arrangement at next week's trade summit. They want to ensure everyone has, and I quote, "an equally prestigious and comfortable position with optimal viewing angles." Several delegates gasped. The hive mind representative actually fainted, their neural network overloading from stress. Dr. Stone, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly straightened in her chair. "Ambassador Zreltak, when exactly did the humans start expressing interest in the Arcturus sector?" I consulted my datapad. 3 standard weeks ago, right after my voice trailed off as the realization hit me. After they sent a diplomatic mission to apologize for a 300-year-old scheduling conflict that nobody even remembered, Meera finished grimly. They brought vintage wine from Earth, in bottles older than some of our civilizations. The chamber's threat assessment display began flashing red. On the main screen, live feeds showed human diplomatic vessels approaching key sectors throughout the galaxy. Each ship's transponder was broadcasting continuous apologies for any potential inconvenience their presence might cause. "They've launched what they're calling Operation Courtesy Call," reported the Silicon Mines tactical analyst. "Their ships are delivering hand-written invitations to every major system in the Arcturus Coalition. The invitations are printed on actual trees." "Paper," Dr. Stone corrected absently. "And let me guess, they're offering to explain any unclear points over tea." "Of course," I said, checking the latest reports. "They're offering to host a series of what they're calling informal friendship brunches, with optional trust-building exercises." The chamber fell into panicked chaos. The crystalline delegation began stress fracturing. The energy beings started stress-leaking radiation. Someone suggested surrendering immediately, just to be polite. "Wait," I raised all 4 of my appendages for attention. "We need to think this through." "Dr. Stone, you're human. What exactly are they planning?" She smiled apologetically. "I'm afraid my security clearance isn't quite high enough to." "They sent you with a gift basket this morning, didn't they?" Meera interrupted sharply. Dr. Stone's smile faltered. "With a thank you note for my future cooperation." Krupp's crystalline form vibrated with analytical intensity, projecting current trends in human diplomatic courtesy, calculating probable outcomes. "Oh no." What I demanded. "What is it?" "They're going to invite the entire Arcturus Coalition to something called a dinner party," Krupp announced, his crystal structure paling, "with assigned seating and planned icebreaker activities." The chamber erupted again. Someone mentioned that human Ambassador Blackwood had been spotted practicing local greeting customs for all 17 Arcturus species, including the ones that required learning extinct dialects. "This is beyond serious," Meera declared. "The last time humans put this much effort into being polite." "The Alpha Centauri Accords," I finished, "when they conquered 3 systems with nothing but a series of eloquently worded compliments and strategically timed gift baskets." Just then, my personal communicator chimed, a message from Ambassador Blackwood herself. "My dearest and most respected colleague, I hope this message finds you in optimal health and spirits. I would be deeply honored if you would consider granting me the privilege of a few moments of your invaluable time to discuss a minor matter regarding the Arcturus sector. I have taken the liberty of preparing some light refreshments, including your species' traditional celebration delicacies, with sincere apologies if my attempt at recreation falls short of your exemplary standards. The message continued for 3 pages, each paragraph more polite than the last. We need to warn them, I declared, my color spots flashing emergency patterns. The entire Arcturus coalition needs to know what they're dealing with. It may already be too late, Mira said softly. Look. The main screen showed new footage, human diplomatic vessels taking up position around key Arcturus worlds. Each ship was broadcasting the same message on all frequencies. We come bearing gifts and cookies. We made them ourselves. Dr. Stone winced. Oh dear. They broke out the family recipes. I rushed to my communication console, broadcasting on all emergency frequencies. Attention, all Arcturus Coalition members. Do not accept their dinner invitations. I repeat, do not. But my warning was cut off by an incoming transmission. Ambassador Blackwood's smiling face filled the screens, somehow managing to make eye contact with every being in the chamber simultaneously. My most esteemed and cherished colleague, she began, her voice warm with practiced sincerity. I do hope I'm not interrupting anything important. The room fell silent. We all knew what was coming next. The ultimate weapon in human diplomatic arsenal. She was going to apologize, profusely, with genuine seeming concern for our feelings. And there wasn't a thing in the galaxy that could stop her. As Ambassador Blackwood's transmission ended with a promise to bring personally embroidered napkins to our next meeting, something clicked in my brain. A pattern hidden within a pattern, like a diplomatic Matryoshka doll of terror. Dr. Stone, I said slowly, I need you to explain something about human history, specifically about someone called Queen Victoria. Her eyes widened slightly. Ah, you figured it out, haven't you? The Victorian era, I continued, pulling up historical records. When human civilization reached unprecedented levels of formal politeness, they also built one of the largest empires in Earth's history. Mira finished, looking impressed. Always with impeccable manners and a nice cup of tea. Krupp's crystalline form pulsed with sudden understanding. The politeness paradox. The more territory humans gained, the more polite they became. But which came first? Both, Dr. Stone said quietly. And neither. You see, humans discovered something important during that period. The more powerful you become, the more important it is to be polite. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. You mean, I ventured, the extreme politeness isn't a prelude to showing power. It's a response to already having it, Dr. Stone confirmed. Think about it. Who can afford to be unfailingly polite? To spend time writing personal notes, arranging perfect seating charts, remembering everyone's dietary preferences. Those who are so confident in their position that they can dedicate resources to courtesy, Mira mused, because they have nothing to prove. I frantically reviewed the data. The Proxima Tea Incident. We already had 3 fleets in position, Dr. Stone nodded. The elaborate tea ceremony wasn't a distraction. It was a courtesy extended because we could afford to take the time. The serious banking conference. Earth's quantum computers had already revolutionized galactic economics. The fancy pens were just good manners. And now, with the Arcturus coalition. Dr. Stone smiled sympathetically. Why do you think Ambassador Blackwood can spend so much time perfecting her courtesy? What does that tell you about humanity's current position? My color spots went completely white. The dinner party invitations are absolutely genuine, she confirmed. We really do want everyone to have a lovely time. We can afford to make sure they do. Krupp's crystals chimed in distress, but the historical records show humans using politeness as a weapon. Nomira corrected, looking like someone who'd just solved a complex puzzle. The records show humans being polite while wielding power. We assumed it was the politeness we needed to fear. When really, I said numbly, the politeness was just them being nice, because they could afford to be. Precisely, Dr. Stone beamed. True power isn't about showing force. It's about having so much capability that you can focus on making others comfortable. That's why the highest levels of human society always had the most elaborate manners. The revelation hit me like a quantum torpedo. Every historical incident, every diplomatic encounter took on new meaning. The humans hadn't been plotting conquests with their courtesy. They'd been celebrating their confidence in their position by making everyone feel welcome. Then Ambassador Blackwood's extreme politeness, I began. Reflects humanity's current status in galactic affairs, Dr. Stone finished. Yes, we've achieved enough that we can dedicate significant resources to being really, really nice. The family recipes, Mira whispered in horror. The handwritten notes are exactly what they seem, Dr. Stone said cheerfully. Genuine expressions of goodwill from a civilization secure enough in its power to focus on making others feel appreciated. I stared at the latest intelligence reports with new understanding. The human diplomatic fleet wasn't positioned for conquest. They were positioned to ensure every guest at their dinner party had safe, comfortable transportation. So when they apologize for any inconvenience, I ventured, they genuinely hope they haven't inconvenienced anyone, Dr. Stone confirmed, because they're powerful enough that causing inconvenience would be embarrassing. The truth was more terrifying than any conspiracy. Humans weren't using politeness to gain power. They were using power to achieve perfect politeness. And somewhere in the galaxy, Ambassador Blackwood was probably writing thank you notes for thank you notes, because humanity had reached a level of capability where they could dedicate entire diplomatic missions to ensuring no courtesy went unacknowledged. We weren't facing an invasion. We were facing something far more formidable, a civilization so advanced that they could afford to be unfailingly, unstoppably nice. The Emergency Galactic Summit was the most well-catered crisis in diplomatic history. Humans had somehow managed to provide each species comfort food, served at their biologically optimal temperature, with garnishes arranged to respect every known cultural taboo. I stood at the podium, facing representatives from 1,000 worlds, all stress eating perfectly prepared snacks. Fellow sentients, I began, my tentacles still trembling slightly. I believe we've been approaching this situation from entirely the wrong direction. The humans aren't being polite because they're planning something. They're being polite because they've already succeeded. The chamber erupted in confused murmurs. Ambassador Blackwood, sitting in the human section with perfect posture and an encouraging smile, gave me a small nod. Consider the evidence, I continued. They've mastered faster than light travel, yet they spend tremendous resources ensuring their ships don't disturb local space traffic. They possess planet-destroying capabilities, but they're more concerned about whether their tea service matches our color preferences. That's absurd, the Quantum Collective's representative buzzed. No species would develop that level of technology just to be nice. Actually, Dr. Stone stepped up beside me. That's exactly what we did. Being nice is extremely resource-intensive. It requires constant attention, perfect timing, and extensive infrastructure. The ability to be unfailingly polite to everyone, everywhere, at all times, is the ultimate show of technological and social advancement. The chamber fell silent as Ambassador Blackwood rose gracefully. If I might add, with your most gracious permission, we find it deeply fulfilling to ensure the comfort and happiness of our galactic neighbors. For instance, we've taken the liberty of upgrading the summit's translation systems. We noticed some species were experiencing a 0.003-second delay in communication. The horror of comprehension dawned across 1,000 alien faces. Humans hadn't just developed better translation technology, they'd noticed a delay so minimal that even the affected species hadn't perceived it. And they'd fixed it. Because it was polite. The Arcturus Coalition dinner party, Mira announced, scrolling through reports. They're not planning to conquer the sector. They're planning to introduce a new form of FTL travel that would reduce commute times for Arcturus workers by 40%, Ambassador Blackwood confirmed pleasantly. We felt it would be rude not to share, considering we developed it while studying local transportation patterns. Would anyone like more scones while we discuss the implementation details? That's when it hit me. The real reason for human diplomatic protocol. The true purpose of all those handwritten notes, personal touches, and elaborate courtesies. You're not showing off, I gasped. You're setting an example, creating a standard for advanced civilizations. We prefer to think of it as encouraging galactic good manners, Ambassador Blackwood smiled. After all, what's the point of technological advancement if we can't all be nice to each other? And just like that, everything changed. The Galactic Security Council immediately established the Human Diplomatic Translation Protocol, not to defend against human politeness, but to learn from it. Every major civilization began dedicating significant resources to courtesy research and development. The Quantum Collective invented self-writing thank you notes that existed in multiple probability states, ensuring optimal gratitude across all possible timelines. The Silicon Mines developed an AI dedicated entirely to remembering personal details about diplomatic contacts, including their preferred snack configurations and entertainment frequencies. Even my own people, the Ventari, established the first Galactic Institute of Advanced Courtesy, with humans serving as honorary advisors. Ambassador Blackwood personally attended the opening ceremony, bringing a gift basket so thoughtfully assembled that 3 theoretical physicists fainted trying to comprehend its layers of meaningful gestures. As for me, I wrote what became the standard text for diplomatic training across the galaxy. The more politely they speak, a comprehensive guide to understanding human diplomatic power. It became required reading for every species joining the galactic community. The epilogue, written by Dr. Stone, puts it best. In the end, we discovered that the most advanced civilizations don't show their power through threats or demonstrations of force. They show it through their capacity for kindness, their attention to detail, and their ability to make everyone feel genuinely appreciated. Humanity didn't conquer the galaxy. We just made it a more polite place to live. And if you're wondering why I'm telling you all this, it's because I just received a handwritten invitation from Ambassador Blackwood. Apparently, humanity has made some modest progress in quantum mechanics that they'd like to share with the galaxy. The invitation came with personalized bookmarks for every member of my staff, including their favorite colors and their favorite quotes, in their native languages. I've already RSVP'd. It would be rude not to. After all, when the most powerful species in the galaxy invites you to tea, you don't just say yes. You send a thank you note, handwritten, on proper paper, with gold edges.